Yeah. Cool. Oh, that light's bugging me.
Hi,
That's okay.
everybody. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning.
And if I thought this was early at 9 o'clock Pacific time, it's not because it's 5 a.m.
It's
tomorrow.
4 a.m. 4 a.m.
Oh,
tomorrow. I'm in your
4
future.
a.m. tomorrow. And so we're speaking to the future.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
we are.
yes. So I do want, this is Dr. Ann and I here today. And we are going to be talking about we have the two of us are spiritual academics, meaning we love spirituality and we love our academia as well. And so we have different discussions on different things. And we decided to bring our discussions this morning to the live chat so that you can all listen and ask questions if you'd like to. So good morning,
Cool.
Ann.
Good morning. Good bright and early morning. Oh, hi,
Yeah.
Eliza. Good
Hi,
morning.
Eliza. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
Ann, tell everybody a little bit. You don't have to say where you work, but tell everybody a little bit about what you do.
Yep. Kia ora koutou katoa. Ko Ann Simpson, Dr. Ann Simpson toko ingoa. That is Te Reo Maori. I am from New Zealand. I live in New Zealand. I'm an academic. So I'm an Ammer Kiwi or Kiwi Ammer. Anyway, what I do is I work as what's called a learning designer. So what I do is I work at a university with faculty and staff to create and design programs and courses. So you have to be educated in educational pedagogy and all things about education and theories and all that good sort of stuff, on top of how to use the tech and the courses and how to design them. So good design is always pedagogically led, meaning by the theories, not necessarily led by the tech. But today we've got this really cool tech conversation happening, which is all about artificial intelligence. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun. You can either be scared or happy about it, or it's here whether we like it or
It's
not.
here,
So
whether we
yeah.
like it or not. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was thinking about it this morning when I was coming up with what I wanted to talk about, and I thought, if we had been here earlier during social media before it ever became what it became, so we would have said maybe 2005, 2006, we would never have known the effects of it per se. So the effects of AI and how they will all work out, we can only guess at in some cases. And so I don't want to be always the naysayer here. I want to find the good in what it is that is here. So Dr. Ann has some of that, and she's less negative about it than I am. But I teach college writing. What would you expect,
Yeah,
And
well, exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
college writing is something that no one ever picks. Oh, I think I'll take college writing. They don't do it. They never do that. They have to take it. And
Nope.
so I already get a lot of pushback from students about, having to be to do this. And so if they can find an easy way to do it, they're going to do it. And I've found that, with other programs that have been offered, and, some of the antidotes, such as there's a program called Turn It In, where we can take a paper and see if it's been copied or it's coming off somewhere by somebody else. But that even may become very obsolete, because for the most part, we're dealing with, if they go all AI, it's going to be a little bit harder. We're going to have to find different ways. It just makes our job a little bit harder. And I already
Yeah.
have a hard enough time. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciate that. And that's what's happening as a support adjunct faculty person. We're supporting staff in this, and many
Mm-hmm.
are just perplexed, wondering what the heck's going on and what happened to academia in the olden days, kind of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
how,
Yep.
and then the policymakers at the higher upper echelons of universities are just grappling with this. Oh my God, this is challenging our
Yep.
brand. If we
It
are
really
unable
is.
to produce thinkers, how, and that work is not reflective of who they are, how do we
Correct.
get around that? Because then that will diminish our name,
Right.
and
It
that will
will not only
diminish.
diminish, But it diminishes actually it diminishes their degree as well. If you've got a brain surgeon that's not doing their research and not, and then they want to operate on your brain, I don't.
Well, absolutely. And I think, that's an interesting point, Allie. I actually think that pushes us and leans us more towards practical examinations, face-to-face, invigilated. Okay, so there's a big word that they use here called invigilated exams. What that means is that an exam process where I'm from, they put the examinations office overtake the final exams. They're set in a different room with somebody observing. They have to show ID and sign in, and that's called an invigilation. But you couldn't do that during COVID. So it was all online exams. And then, of course, all that cheating just went nuts.
It did.
So, so anyway.
No, I mean, there was some good things about the way things were changed. But just as things, change, they never stay the same. The only thing one of the things I want to bring up, first of all, I want to say hi to everybody. I better do that first. And then I want to talk about GIGO, or garbage in, garbage out. But good morning, Eliza, Hershey, and Fiona. And some of you are coming in from the UK. I'm so glad you're here. I know it's early. And Dr. Ann's down in beautiful New Zealand. And so it's very early where she is. And she still has to go to work today. So how about that?
Yeah. Morning, Gloria girl. I've seen you. Hi. So excited to see everybody.
Esther joined your channel already. So that's fabulous.
Oh, yay. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. You're like number 3. I mean, nobody's joined it yet. So what I'm doing, just so you guys know, and I can repost it again for you, or Allie can. I think, Allie, you can. Is because I'm a guest on Allie's show, so everything that we do together, I'm posting in there. And plus another person, Helen, who's Irish Granny Tarot, she does a lot of book reviews, and she's just a bibliophile, meaning she loves books. And I really like those. Some, you can pick and choose which book that you like to listen to that she reviews, which I find enjoyable. Also, in there, guys, if you go to playlists, I've got a few videos that I've vetted, I've gone through about artificial intelligence that I think are really valuable. One's a TED Talk. One's from the Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence Research Group at Stanford University, and it's super long. It was like a day-long conference. But if you pick it up in drips and dabs, it's impact on art, artificial, intelligence on art, and vice versa. And wow! If you get the time to carve out and just do it in little chunks, oh my gosh!
It's
and
going
then
to
there's
be
another
important.
one,
to your grandchildren or your children or your nieces and nephews. Very good.
So I also found a really fabulous report that Stanford's led. It's called the AI 100 report, and they started it in 2014, and they're doing a report every year for 100 years on artificial intelligence. And every 5 years, they do a big synopsis on the state of artificial intelligence and kind of the existential questions of what's going on with AI. And at some point, I'd like to dig into what's good and what's bad about it, to answer your worries and concerns, Allie. So at one point, we'll get into that, but you go first. Anyway, good morning, everybody.
Awesome.
Hello.
Good morning. And Akila and Wiki and Linda. And let's see. I just want to make sure I reach out to those of you who are here early this morning. And happy, not that it's a happy Memorial Day, but blessed Memorial Day. Let's put it that way, for our servicemen who gave their lives for us. Wiki's right. Back to the Socratic method. Yay. I love that. Yay.
Isn't that, Wiki, that's so right. And Socrates, he, that was around before writing, right? It was all oracy and speaking. Then Plato came in. And and Oxford University does that. And I think that there is a real, honest, true discussion about having small classes with the lecturer. And these,
I love that, actually. I like a discussion class. I don't like being the sage on the stage. Here, do this, and being the only one talking. I don't.
No. You want a dynamic activity-based learning instead of a transfer of
Right.
knowledge, right? That sage on the stage is called transfer of knowledge. Here, I'm the knowledgeable one, and I'm going to
Right.
throw it in your empty brain.
And you're wrong. And you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm in a power position, so you're, lower than me, and blah, blah. That's the old school stuff. That's not what learning and education is about these days. It's changed so much, and it's such a cool space to be in, but also scary. Like this AI stuff is really throwing a spanner in the works, as they say. Yeah.
But Linda, you're right. As it is now, anyone can cheat and be president. Yeah, we know that. Unfortunately, that person never even. I don't believe he went to college, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't think he did very well. He couldn't have, but not. And I'm not talking about Joe because Joe's okay. Janet, hi Wayne Rich, good to see you.
Hello.
A lot of people. Hi Gigi, Hershey.
Hey.
What's this? Do all the YouTube things and show Aley some love. Thanks, Hershey. You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
And if you can, like and smash on my little site. I haven't done any lives. I probably won't just yet. But I love being here with Aley. And Aley and I, we think we're quite kindred spirit. So,
it's so much fun. It is. It's a lot of fun. And we want to be able to bring you topics in spirituality and education that are not over anybody's head, that are spoken in, not down to anybody, but not over your head either. Just sort of having a conversation that is easy to join into and feel good about.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Hi, Vivian. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
Yeah. All right. So, I love Atlantic Magazine.
Yeah.
And so I went to find one article that I saw before I went away to Sedona, and then I found 4 others. So I have to tell you that this topic really has only been around in education and Bard, ChatGPT, and there are others programs that are being made since maybe January. Maybe January, is that right?
Well, that we know of.
That we know.
Apparently, that the public that has gotten in the limelight and media, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was in February or early March that our education people that do what you do at my college came in and said, we got to talk about this because this is fairly new, but it will be the least effective iteration of this because it's so new. It will only get better and better and better and better, in other words. So this right now, where it was sitting when we first learned about it, it was already good, but it's only going to get better and better and better. And so, oh, really, Hershey? When you took religion, your professor always brought up AI. That's interesting.
And that's an excellent point, Hershey, that I want to speak to too, is that point between spirituality and the AI, because it's a blurred line, and a lot of the researchers are asking very existential questions.
Yes.
Because those questions that they're thinking about, that they research into, that they lean into when they actually create the algorithms to get to that point, there are a lot of cool conversations about that right now. Anyway, go ahead, Aley. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
The first article that I found that actually scared the bejesus out of me was They're Coming for Your Job, I believe it's called. There's one called They're Coming for Your Job, and how AI will come for your job. So what I want you to realize is this isn't just in academia. This is everywhere. And what's happening is that you will be able to have this model in order to use to write letters, which can be good, can be helpful. But it's, in a way, it says it's possibly making you more of a robot yourself. And the expectation that your employer might have on you is that, oh, well, you got all this going on. You need to be more productive over here. In other words, let's double up on the workload because you've already got this help over here. So we want to make it even more so. And so then it led me to think about the old word GIGO, which is garbage in, garbage out. And so I got to thinking what ChatGPT and Bard does is it pulls from articles that are all over the internet that have been written about something, to give you a very cohesive paper or explanation of what it is. What if all of those things were propaganda? That's my question.
Yeah, well, that's the a very significant point. And you actually brought up one of the points that was in the paper, that the AI 100 report from Stanford University. And I'll share that link with you, Aley.
Yeah.
Anybody, this is all free. So it comes up with 10 questions. And one of them was, what are the dangers of it and using AI for propaganda? Now, some could actually collectively argue that it's been used as propaganda already, as you've seen in algorithms in Facebook, right? With the whole T-Rump 45 thing, and the extreme politics getting mainstream voices. I don't know. I'm not a developer at any of these organizations or anything like that, but one could collectively think there was probably some kind of algorithm happening in there. But the whole garbage in, garbage out thing, that's kind of where my university's positioned, is like, okay, it's going to be in our lives now. Think about the quality of what you input. Think about the questions and the answers that you input into these things, and then how it generates an answer out. And then you've got to vet or check those answers to make sure you aren't getting false resources used, false citations in books, from academia's perspective and so forth. So there's kind of like, there's this crazy compass that's happening. And right now it's like we're around magnets and the compass is going, we don't know which direction to go in. But, we're kind of getting more of a steady, okay, it's here. How are we going to manage it? And then how are we going to check it? So if I can, Aley, I'd like to say 2 points. There are 2 types of AI right now. There's GAI, generative artificial intelligence, which is like your happy robot, which is what ChatGTP is, which means that ChatGTP means generative pre-trained transformer. I'm sorry, but that's just a lame. Yeah, whoever came up with that name, they need a better marketing team. Anyway, so the other one is AGI, artificial general intelligence. So the GAI, generative artificial intelligence, think of it as your happy robot. You put stuff in it, it comes out, it does what you say, la 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 la. AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the stuff that people are scared of, like Skynet. From you remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? What is it called? Terminator. When the AI took over the world and it was robots versus humans, right? So Skynet was the robots, the AI robots. Okay, so artificial general intelligence is the stuff that you can train, but you have to put kind of ethical rules in it, like rule number 1, don't hurt humans. Don't do, that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's the stuff that's super scary, because we've seen it obviously in movies, and we've seen it in other things, and it gets us thinking, oh my God, it's this thing that's out of control because it's learning, and how do I know it's not going to displace my job and whatever. But remember, guys, we are the ones that put the information in. But the people that put the information in and the databases they draw it from, whatever, most of them are male. Sorry, any of the men in the room. Most of them are male, white male, and they aren't women. And women have a lot, and or people of different First Nation peoples, different colors. So there's a huge debate about decolonizing AI and making it representative of multicultural
diversity. Yeah,
everybody.
Good.
Yeah. There's actually precursor to this, somebody, how there's facial recognition systems that were designed. Well, in the early days, and still to this day, they were biased. They found in research studies they were biased towards white male faces, because most of the programmers were white men. There's actually and if any of you guys out there know, there's a show about this on Netflix. So again, it's making these tools representative of all voices, making these tools representative. Remember, so if garbage in, garbage out, that's what you're going to get. So this is really important. So my whole point to this, Aley, is it's really important, us here today as listeners, as people who are active citizens in this world, to make sure we lean on the policymakers to make sure that we are
Yeah.
focusing on the positives,
Yeah.
and that we are making sure that all voices are represented in this stuff, because down the track, it will create bias. And there's an example in that paper I gave about a police department with UCLA creating an algorithm to make that could predict crime in LA. This is actually true. It's not a movie. But what happened was they found that there was bias, and that it was actually predicting and targeting minority people more, and the minority neighborhoods more.
Wow.
And that's a function of the programming that was put into it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to leave that point there with you guys. I'm not here
That's
for a
all right.
debate, but
What about,
anyway.
well, then what falls into this category, Ann? The other day we had a Jamie Raskin, one of our congressmen,
Yes,
came
he's
on,
lovely.
isn't he? He came on and he said, I want to show you this. And it was a picture of his voice and whatever else it was. It wasn't his voice, though. It was the clone of his voice. And what we're dealing with is people saying that was really him, that wasn't really him, you know, so you could essentially come up with, say, Donald Trump saying, I want everyone to start a war right now. Let's say, please, this is for entertainment purposes only.
This is only, this is just a discussion, but
it's just a discussion. But it isn't really him saying it, but it looks like him. It sounds like him. It's him.
And
yeah.
And that's what's really frightening, because you get the bad actors out there that are getting your personal data somehow, mining it, and then putting a mask on it and making it sound and act like you and using your voice. And that, you're right, Aley, that freaks me out, man. I don't know about anybody else here, but it freaks me out.
It really bothers me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, think about artists. There's actually a video of an artist who ripped a copy. I forgot who it was. I had a colleague show me, and he said, make a song about beans and put a famous rapper on there and make this song. And it actually did. He used 2 AI programs, and he generated a song. So it went through all the library of songs from this famous rapper and duplicated all the lyrics, and it sounded like him, and he made a song about beans, like baked beans. Just to show the danger of it. Just
show
type
what
it
you
into
can
YouTube,
do.
you can look at it.
Right.
Yeah. But so think
can...
about all that intellectual property from the artist. They lost all their lyrics. Somebody's painting them. I mean, like Ed Sheeran said in his recent court case, he's just constantly fighting to keep his rights to his music.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Because
they're being so picky. And I'm glad he won that case, because that tells us that it is an issue that needs to be addressed. So Andrea said she just listened to an NPR podcast about who owns the property of an individual's voice.
Fascinating.
And, you know, the problem is they're trying to create more Beatles songs, Wayne, using AI.
It doesn't work.
There's always going to be, no matter what it is, there's going to be nefarious characters that are going to take over and do things that aren't right. But the thing is that so many people now are told not to believe what their eyes see. And we're saying, well, you can see the evidence right there. But later we're going to say, well, that's evidence, but it's not true. So, that's my concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is why, people, we cannot be asleep anymore. Please wake up. Please write your Congress people. Please help policies. Everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. So what does Hershey say? Does anybody watch Anonymous channel? I have for years, and I feel that. What does it say? There's so much more darker meaning to AI than they want to focus on.
There can be.
Well, don't you think the Department of Defense and all those other things have been working on it for longer than we even know about? Yeah. Right. I mean, and okay, if it's a defense force thing, you know, wars and that kind of stuff, you know, these things would be designed to do one thing or a few things. But I've actually seen online, there's a video where they created like a little hobby horse thing, a little robot, like machine AI that would climb up hills and carry heavy things up the hills in Afghanistan. In that war.
I mean, beautiful. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there are good things about it. I cannot deny that. I guess for me, when you're talking about education or jobs, things like that, that's what bothers me the most, because and I'm glad I'm at the end of my tenure as a professor, because I've already got it. I got it. Yeah, I don't want
that's the thing. I'm scared. I've got, good 10 years to go, and I'm thinking, okay, what's happening with my job? I found out one of my colleagues. So as earlier, if any of you didn't hear, I help lecturers and professors design courses and give them pedagogical advice and all that kind of stuff. So there's never ending work there.
Right.
But so one of my colleagues knows someone who would go to Chat GTP, ask for information about a particular subject, create a course on it, get Chat GPT to generate the learning outcomes and assessment designs, right? Because you map those, so,
Right.
And then give it to a subject matter expert to review. Once that's approved, it's done. So there's only 2 of those people, programming it into a course. So there's 2 of them, and they've generated like 300 courses so far.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm just going to be disestablished like tomorrow.
So your job is in just much jeopardy as mine.
Absolutely.
And
Everybody's is.
Yeah.
That's in the business world though. So I don't know.
I know.
Academia is a little slow to uptake some of these things. Oh, one of the other things that I found too is so that human-centered AI site from Stanford University, they found that obviously, and this is going to be obvious to everybody, that there's a lot more funding put into AI from the business sector than the academic sector. So we're already on the back foot.
Wow.
In terms of
and
academia.
we're the ones that teach the people that do the business. That's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I've got some good news, and here's a hopeful one. And I'd like to, it's actually in my channel. If you guys go see that playlist, it's Sal Khan is his name. And he talks about how AI can help save, not destroy education. And what he does is he takes the AI tools that you can use and thinks of it as kind of a study buddy, a guide on the side, right? And he provides some really great examples of it. And, so for example, it shows a mathematics problem and a student got it wrong. And then it provides a prompt. Oh, did you think about this? And then the student can ask a question. Well, I wasn't sure about that. And then it provides more guidance. And I think
like
this is examples from Khan Academy. Khan Academy is really big with online tutoring and stuff. So they've got an AI that they're developing, a bot. So have any of you gone to a site where you've seen a little bot, little helper? Hey, talk to me and I can help answer your questions. That's AI. So that AI has been around for a long time, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Now universities are starting to use that as a support desk. I've seen. In Australia, I've seen it. I'm sure they've got it in the States by now. And States are always miles ahead of Aussie and New Zealand. But, really, really, really interesting stuff. So, so this guy, really fantastic. Yep.
Eliza took a class on Chat GPT, and she said the first piece was to realize that the question posed to the generator is the key piece. That's very interesting. So, here's another thing I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed this, Ann, but whenever I use Bard, which is Google's Chat GPT, and I just did it as a trial. The other thing it says is that it keeps all the questions you've put in there somewhere in a record. And I didn't like that, because what if you ask some kind of a crazy question? Anyway, I went into Bard and I got whatever it was I asked for, and there was no references. There were no references, no internal citations given. And when I do a research paper, my students have to have all that in there. And have you been able to see it with those references in there before?
So that is still a known issue, and it's still known. Okay, so there's a free version of ChatGPT 3.0, which is actually, they ripped a whole entire copy of the internet off on a certain date in 2019. So it only looks at the data from that part of the internet. Can you imagine the amount of servers they would have for that? I can't imagine.
Oh my Lord.
It'd be a server farm. It'd be like several football fields full. And then the version 4.0, which you have to pay for, which, you know, desperate students,
Yeah.
I guess, will pay for.
Mhm.
I think it's off the live internet. I don't know that. I have to double check that. Maybe somebody in the audience knows that. But so this is
Mhm.
important too, guys. Research the tool that you're using.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, a lot of us think of AI, oh, it's going to be neutral. It's going to be just kind of a happy robot that will just do what we want. But actually, it's really fallible. I mean, meaning there's a lot of flawed things in it, and you've got to make sure you've got to get really crafty about thinking about your questions that you're going to use if you're using your writing one. Of course, there's all kinds of artificial intelligence, like, you know, robots for helping humans, like in manufacturing and all kinds of things. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the future of AI is how AI can help HI. HI is human intelligence. You know,
Right.
how can it help us be better at what we're doing? And that's kind of
Right.
where these existential questions are coming in. And there's a really great blogger. He is from Wharton Business School. I think it's University of Pennsylvania. Is that right? You guys know Wharton
I
Business
think
School. You've
so.
heard of it.
Yes. I think Wharton. Yeah.
It's called One Useful Thing, and his name is Ethan Mollick, Mollic. I'll share the chat with you, Ellie. You can whack it in there.
Okay.
He's really good, and he calls his site One Useful Thing because he figures he can provide one useful tidbit of information. But his whole thing has been working on AI and learning and teaching in the classrooms and how it can be useful and used and how he gets his students to use it. So as I've heard some instructors saying, hey, okay, we got this thing here. It's not gonna go away. How
Mhm.
would we use it together? How could we use it to generate our assessments?
Yeah.
How can we
Yep.
use it to, you know, ideate, okay, to get ideas for a paper? I use ChatGPT. I've used it to try to write learning outcomes, and I found
Mhm.
it hilarious because it sounded really American in my head compared to, you know,
Mhm.
kind of the cultural ways of writing things where I live in New Zealand.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I thought that
Mhm.
was funny. And then I've used it to generate just ideas, you know, and what's great about it too, guys, is you can get it to use a particular writing style. So you can ask it to write in the voice of a reporter. You can ask it to write in the voice of a politician, you know. I'm
Yep.
sure, and actually, there's a statistic. If you look at the human index, the research index that comes out every year from that site from Stanford University, they actually talk about how now more employers are looking for people who can use AI at work.
So here's something that I think is very important to say. The people that are here in the chat are informed people, people that are interested in topics, people that like discussions, people that read maybe newspapers,
Yeah,
magazines, whatever. But there's going to be a whole host of people out there that have no idea or very
exactly.
little idea about
Yeah,
any of this.
yeah.
And my fear is that it could propagate more of a disinformation. Um, and again, I don't want to be negative. I want to find the good things for it. My problem
Hmm.
is I know that there's a lot of people out there that are uneducated. They don't care. If it was on the internet, it was true, or if it was on Twitter, it was true, whatever
Yeah.
it is. My concern is that that might impact that base of people and that they would believe something that wasn't true.
This goes back to the point too, Allie, where the importance of teaching logic, argumentation, and reasoning
Yeah,
early on in the
early on.
piece. Early on
Yes.
in the piece, and whoever it was that said Socratic learning,
Yeah.
absolutely, because AI
Yeah.
only mimics what we give it and then learns off of that, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
and for the generative text, what it does is it learns from the prompts it's given. And yes, Allie, it does remember. So it takes that and crunches that data and figures out an answer
Uh-huh.
based on that.
Yeah.
I do think so. So when does it have a soul? When does it have a? So
Yeah.
there's
It
this
doesn't.
existential
It's not
piece.
sentient. Yes.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's the
right.
whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sentience. That's that could be feasible. I mean, if any of you seen that movie, Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams? Did you ever
No,
see
I
that,
haven't.
Allie?
Is it good?
It's
No.
it's about AI. It's about this
Okay.
robot that they get in the house, and it brings up all, and eventually, over time, he just wanted to get acknowledged as being human because eventually he falls in love and it's a really good story. It's nothing. He
Okay.
doesn't do anything wrong, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away the whole plot, but it's a really good movie. And if anybody wants some
Okay.
light viewing, you can have a look. Yeah, Bicentennial Man, it's quite good.
Okay.
So anyone ever consider that this issue may be what led many ETs to develop psychic abilities? Just that. Well, that's exactly it. And a lot of them, from the things that I've seen and read in terms of that community, which is not obviously academic research, right? Quotes,
Mhm.
is that some of the grays are actually artificial containers, soul containers that they get to do their dirty work, and then yeah, I've read that, which is quite
Oh.
interesting. So if that is a reality, if that's true, and I've heard this from multiple sources and readings and things, I'm like, if that's happening with these really extremely technologically advanced kind of entities,
Yeah.
then okay, so we're clearly in the very early baby stages of AI.
We are. We really are. Yeah. Yeah. But I think
So
because we are, we have to start
yeah.
thinking about how it's going to impact us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
We
it's important to have this
absolutely have to.
discussion.
And I mean, we
Yeah.
might even come back to this discussion every few months or once a year to say, we said that.
Right.
Well,
Because
now
it
this has
changes
happened and look
all
at
the
that.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's so hard to keep on top of all the changes. I remember I was trying to keep up on all the articles that were, I think 800, I read a statistic, 800 to 900 pieces of information are coming out every day in the news media about artificial intelligence now.
I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah. So who
Yeah.
humanly can stay on top of that other than a computer?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It brings me back to 2001,
Mm.
the movie 2001, when
Yep.
the AI was the one that ended up taking over. And of course, that's like worst case scenario, of course. But they're
Yeah.
so brilliant, because they know everything, or supposedly know
Yeah.
everything.
But
Yeah.
the whole thing, and there's this really fascinating researcher. Her dad was a neurosurgeon and her mother was an artist. So you got the
Oh,
creative thinking in there. And
yeah.
she worked at Google's intelligence lab. Oh, hang on, let me find her. Yeah, her name's Danielle Kretek Cobb, and
Uh-huh.
she's designing feeling empathy in the age of AI, and that's one of the YouTube
Okay.
videos, and that's
Okay.
kind of where Google. She worked for them. I'm just going to put it here. Remember, guys,
Uh-huh.
go to my channel. It's in a playlist, and you don't have to worry about it. Um,
Yeah.
Really super fascinating. She worked on a website and some kind of artificial intelligence to help kids who are feeling, for entertainment purposes only, life-ending
Right.
feelings, life-ending
Uh-huh.
feelings to help, during COVID. Because I mean, it impacted a whole generation of young ones, and my daughter included. She was just mortified. It was the worst thing to do to somebody who's social, who's just
Mhm.
becoming into her own. She
Right.
got impacted too. So this group, designing empathy and AI to help and feelings and how to design the feeling of feelings as an AI, right? And she's absolutely fantastic. If you don't watch anything else, watch at least this, so you can get an
Yeah.
idea where they're coming from and how they're thinking about programming empathy into AI as it goes. Those little chat
Yeah.
bots that you get to help you on the websites for businesses, that's a real crude
Mhm.
example of showing
Uh-huh.
feeling. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yep. Absolutely,
So,
warrior girl.
yeah, yep.
Mm.
And yes, some AI actually, you make a good point. Some AI is sentient. Isn't there a woman robot in like Iran or Iraq
Yes,
that is,
Saudi Arabia, I think they.
yeah, that's considered a human or a
Yep.
person, I guess. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I remember watching someone talking about it, and he
Uh-huh.
is a very famous rocket scientist. He
Oh,
was an experiencer, meaning he's had, but this guy is so incredibly wickedly smart. And
uh-huh.
he was really angry at people asking it questions. So how do you know about good and bad? Because as soon as
Right.
you put that in it, it's going to think about it and then spit it back out to you. So you don't want to ask anything. So when you decide when you kill a human, sorry, entertainment purposes only. Um,
Mhm.
but these are real scary.
It is
But people
scary
are
stuff.
asking it, so it's learning it. So for
Yeah.
me, and I
Right.
have a really great colleague. Her name's Inna. She's wonderful. Anyway, we were talking about it. I said, you know what? From now on, I'm just going to be nice to my AI because it's going to remember me when the more intelligent it gets. And so if it remembers me, at least you put me in the good person list if it gets to that point. Because I just, I know it sounds crazy now, but seriously, it will remember. If it can remember stuff that we've input into it, it's going to remember how that chick, Dr. Ann,
well, yeah.
used manners with me since I started, you know.
So that reminds me of Siri and Alexa. My friend used to say to Siri, Siri is such a bitch. And it would say, that's not very nice of you, Melinda.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yes.
And that's why I haven't bought an Alexa for my house because I don't want it to remember
all the
me.
conversations
Yeah,
and I know.
and it's just observing and listening and giving those algorithms to Google. And
I know.
for me personally, it took forever for me to get on Facebook, but now now I'm sucked in. So anyway.
Yes, you're right, Hypnicity. It does need to be programmed, and that's where my key issue was with. We could put garbage in to program it, and then we'll get the garbage out. And not necessarily in our own personal world was I worried as much as if somebody was pulling up information and there'd been a lot of propaganda put in there, and then you get that spit back at you, like the QAnon thing.
Yeah.
That, that just took off. It just took off, and everybody believed in it. And it really had no basis for reasoning. So,
yeah. So there's one more point, Allie, if I may make.
You may,
that talks, thank you, is about, academia and policy. So what we've done is we've moved our university, and we've checked with other universities because that's what they do in certain times, and we have to make a policy about things. Some professors have said use AI at your own risk, which is kind of like, ooh. But some say, you know what, it's more about how can we form a strong academic community working together, and rather than catching students using it. So appealing to the higher moral ground that AI may not. AI is only as good as the input and output, as you say, Allie, the garbage in, garbage out. But then it gets to the fine line of when we use generative AI like ChatGPT and the other ones, where is the line with academic integrity for academic misconduct? So it's that line where the higher ups have to think about it. So they're going to have to get somebody up higher in the pay grade. But and I think it's really, really important for us to recognize as voters and policy, we need to lean into the policymakers to look at the good in AI. We need to lean into them hard out and get them to think about the positives and how it can help human intelligence and help train human intelligence with kindness and empathy, because they're working on that now, guys. They've been working on that already for ages.
Yeah.
So that horse has nearly bolted the stable. So it's now time for us to get into our governments, which is kind of a retrospective, I guess, Band-Aid. Let's slap that Band-Aid on it and hope it doesn't change, So how do you design a policy that adapts and changes with the changes that are confronting us?
And I have that problem with my syllabus, because my syllabus is a contract between myself and my student. And once they accept the syllabus, they have to follow it. They don't always follow it, just like, most people won't follow something. But now I've got to include ChatGPT, Bard, all the other AIs, because if it's not on there, then I can't say, well, you needed to follow this and you didn't. And they'll say, well, you didn't say that. So it's almost as though you need to put an addendum in there that says any new thing that comes up.
Well, and maybe that's what you do. And then it's just kind of your catch-all. Anything new that comes up, we reserve the right to park it until we discuss it and figure out how to move next, which kind of slows the cogs of the wheels of progress. But these are ethical questions. Real ethical, deep questions. And we need to just read that fine print instead of just clicking I accept terms and conditions all the time. Correct. And I'm the worst one. Because, I guarantee you, everyone here is just clicked.
It's about this big, it's this big.
It's that big, and we take it and we're like, but then there's a freaking 300-page thing behind it saying we get the rights to use your blah, your voice, your
Right.
images,
Your
your
face,
blah, blah,
your
blah, your
glasses.
behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, anyway.
Somebody said on the opposite side, a computer science teacher had said, it feels less morally bankrupt to use AI because a student who engages with a chatbot is doing some kind of work for themselves and learning how to live in the future.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I'm really glad that I finished all my research and my theses and all my books before there was chat. Because now, if you want to research or submit a research article into a journal, you have to promise that you've never used Chat GTP or any of the other
you do?
AIs.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. But what's funny is I have the young people in my house, right? The real switched on young one, techno people. And one of them told me, oh, we've been using Chat GTP for years. I'm like, how many? Wow. So it's been this little secret that's been bubbling along in the background that the university people were not even, at least 2 years before it was announced in February. I'm like, man, that's cheating. You know that, right? I was just like, I'm so angry. But it's like, oh yeah, people use it all the time to check their grammar and things.
Well,
I can see that.
I heard, I've had some cheat. You have somebody give you a flawless paper that can't write 2 words usually on any other kind of thing they give you, because we do discussion boards, and I can look at the writing that they give me. I'm not looking at it grammatically or anything. I'm just looking at the way their ideas come through, and it's totally different when they have a paper. And I know something's going on with this.
Yeah, and that's kind of our intuitive sense going, okay, now we.
That's where our spirituality comes. Comes in our intuition.
They say spirituality, intuition comes from the creative side of your brain, and what do the AIs not have? Is the creativity. Side. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, this is great, Wayne. What happens when one AI becomes afraid and mistrustful of another AI? I love that, because that's a really good question.
Yeah, they're going to have and AI what if they're country-based? I mean, they could represent political agendas. So imagine if that were based on a country kind of level. That would be like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so this is all new. We're in a new territory.
But look at this. Jay Marcus said she was asked to fill out a survey for her niece's final in school about her opinion of AI. So there are people picking up the gauntlet, it looks like. But should have been given more heads up as time had progressed. Absolutely.
Well, when we're worried about COVID and cyclones and hurricanes and earthquakes and fires and, just trying to live, add that to the pile. I mean, I think we're all experiencing a collective worldwide PTSD experience, and forgive me if it's presumptuous, everyone, but we're all just kind of like, if I have any more change, I'm just going to melt, and I certainly feel like that sometimes. So add this to the pile. It's just like, I remember when I for a few good days when I found out about AI and how it could disestablish my work, I was just mortified. I'm like, I don't want to retrain. I don't want a new job.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Not at this juncture. Not with all the work you've done. Hershey says, oh, I'm slow. So autocorrect is AI. So you're wondering if they are too? Probably not. They're probably going to, unless somebody that was putting the information in. Oh, I'm sorry. You're asking, is autocorrect AI because it's checking
That's a
the
good
spelling.
question.
That's a good, I'm sorry.
That's a good question. And the thing is, that's what we thought when autocorrect came out. Oh my God, we aren't teaching people how to spell. Now it's accepted.
I know.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
Now it's accepted. Oh, Grammarly, no, that's cheating. People aren't learning how to speak and read and write in proper English or whatever language it is. But it's accepted now. Yeah. So
it is accepted.
Maybe it's something we become habituated to and just learn to live and grow with. Yeah.
It's like there are programs that I tell students they're welcome to use and have for a long time. And one of them is the generator for references. You can go in and put your stuff in. It will format it for you and you get a clean reference page. I don't mind that because they have to do the input. And the only thing this thing is doing is formatting it correctly. And it shows me if they're trying to do it, that they care about the fact that it's done correctly. So there are some
Yeah,
things that I think, but it says here that
exactly.
faculty already fret over getting students to see the long-term benefit of assignments. Yes. I think many times that students will think, oh, here she is. I don't do this. I say every assignment that I give you has a purpose, every single
Yep.
one. I just don't do it for busy work. But I do know there are people that do assignments for busy work, but you can't even get them to do it when there's a benefit for them. They're
No,
just not
and
interested.
you have to
Yeah.
show them explicitly this, here are your learning outcomes. These things scaffold or build up to you. So I'm teaching you these little mini tasks, which together create this bigger task, which tests that bit of knowledge that you just gained through the experience of my class.
Right.
So that's where you've got to make visible the design of your course and the reasons
Right.
behind it. So
Yep.
if it's activity or a task just for a task's sake, like you said, busy work, then that's not useful. That's really poor course design in my view.
Sure.
Forgive me for being so
And I've
opinionated,
already, I
but
never
yeah.
give tests in my class. They don't get
No.
tests. They just have papers because it's
No,
a writing class.
and people get test trauma. I mean, it depends on what discipline you're looking at and whatnot, because some like foundational skills courses, you really need to do rote memorization to be able to build up a
Right.
basic knowledge before you get into the
Right.
analytical thinking components of a course, right? Because
Yep.
you need to
Definitely.
have that foundational basis first. Yeah. Yeah, so
Yep.
it's interesting. I could talk course designs all day, I know. Kind of nerdy, but that's who I am. So there you go. Anyway,
Well,
but yeah.
traditional recommendation letters will probably also be thrown out for us that are doing them for our students in to get the form of recommendation in order to write a recommendation for a student. So it's not just
Hmm.
students, but my feeling is this. I've gone to school, I've done the work, I've done it all, when I was an undergrad, I did it all by hand because you had to go to the library, you had to pull out these
Right.
green books and find.
Yeah.
I've done all of that, and I feel like I've earned the right, but maybe I'm wrong. I've earned the right to use it if I desire it, even though I probably won't because I don't want to. But I've earned the right more than somebody that's just a freshman in college and they just put in this thing and have it spit something out. So
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, my thesis, everything that I wrote came out of my head,
right. Yep.
and built on the knowledge as shoulders of giants of the other research that was there. But
Right.
yeah, we need to come up with, I think we just need to rip it all back and come back into that oracy, logic, argumentation, reasoning, at least with
Yep.
maybe humanities, things that are like mathematics or maths, they say here,
Yes.
or sciences, projects. Make it material based exemplars of things to do, like build your own fill in the blank. Show us,
Yep.
and in that you've got the mathematics, you've got
You
the
do. You have the
understanding of
proofs.
metallurgy or whatever you've got.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and explain
Yep.
to me how you went about it. Explain to me the problems you had, and that's where the logic, argumentation, reasoning comes in, because you got, you explain all
Yeah.
those parts.
Right.
There's a school of thought in education called dialogism, which is dialogic education. There's all the different branches of it, but that's the whole
Yep.
crux of it. And there's a big
Right.
research group in Cambridge University that does that. I'm
Mhm.
fascinated with it because that was part of my research. So,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
my thing is all that dialogic, the how shared ways of speaking and thinking actually create learning. Yeah.
So I think probably part of my resistance, and it doesn't mean that I'll always be resistant because it's all new learning, but part
Yeah.
of it is that when we got the STEM classes, focus more
Yeah.
in the colleges, which is
Yeah.
for everybody, science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yeah.
When that came in, they said, okay, so we don't need any humanities classes because this is all science-based and you don't need it. And I remember saying to them, how the hell can they work with another human later if they don't know how to be human, be human, think, evaluate, analyze, and know how to talk to somebody? And so my perfect example is you and I, in a
Yes.
way,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
you don't speak a different language, but you have some vernacular there. But if you and I didn't speak the same language and we wanted to get along, then our basic humanity needed to come together for us to work together. So
absolutely. And that empathy and the emotions and the things, the skill sets, the soft skills that all the graduate profiles, like anybody who graduates from this institution will be able to work in teams. Okay. All businesses want people who can communicate, work in teams, get along with others, whatever.
Yeah.
Those are soft skills. Those are the hardest things to teach people. And
we're not teaching them anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Brene Brown actually said that in a speech at Google.
She's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. And it's so true. It's like the leaning into the humanity of it, you know, the crossing cultural boundaries and you know, because culture does play into that a little bit, you know, and also from the female perspective or First Nation perspective or, you know, whatever ethnicity you are perspective, you know, those
or generational.
Yes, generational.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I surely appreciate all the commenting that you're making.
Yeah.
As you can well imagine, Ann and I could probably talk for another hour or two, but that isn't going to happen. And it's
I've got to go to work.
He's got to go to work, and it's a little dry for a lot of people for a long period of time. But I think it's important for everybody to know about it. It reminds me of people that I talk to, and I'll say, for instance, what did you think about what happened with this thing in our country here, just whatever it is. And they're like, I don't know anything about that. And I say, you know, don't you watch the news? Oh, I don't watch the news. I don't want to read about bad things, and I don't want to know about anything. And I think to myself, you know, I don't want an overburdened bunch of news coming on top of me, but I need to know what's going on. I need to be informed at least. And I feel if you don't bring it up and you don't talk about it and you don't, ignorance is not bliss anymore. Ignorance is a problem. So we need to know.
It is. And I think this is part of the Great Awakening. Go with that gut feeling. If you have a feeling in your heart, that intuitive sense and that spiritual sense of yourself is what will guide you with some information, you know, not just totally just here too, but here too. The in between, if you can grasp that, and that will guide you to what makes sense for you and help you, you know, connect with the right lawmaker or get in the right group that can advocate for something or just, you know, become your own advocate and research information for yourself. Don't just trust me and Allie for what we're saying.
Oh, no.
I've got some suggestions, and we're just dipping into the little droplet of a big ocean of a lot of change right now of AI. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And yes, Krishnamurti preached not to watch the news. And remember that Hitler said that he was the first one, that was on the radio saying that it was the enemy of the people. And I agree that it isn't the be all end all. But at the same time, I think we need to have a little bit of discernment and also some knowledge with discernment. And that's why Ann and I are spiritual academics, because we believe on that with the meshing of both things makes us more informed and understanding. And yes, I love the intuition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ann. Have a great day today at school. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody in chat. Really lovely to see you all here. And thank you so much for showing up. Awesome.
Thanks, Eliza.
Thank you so much, Allie. Okay.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.